In this presentation, we will look at project planning. Here is a famous saying, expect the best, plan for the worst, and prepare to be surprised. Before we start, I will first introduce myself. Hey, this is Amy Law, your presenter. I have been working in IT for over 20 years in pipelines, energy regulator, oil and gas, utilities, transportations, and telecommunications. I have managed projects for over 15 years in IT applications and infrastructure, system and data migration, cybersecurity, ECM, SAP, process improvement, and office facilities. In terms of education, I completed bachelor and master in computer science from the University of Calgary. I received my PMP in 2006. I also completed certifications in project management, change management, ISO 27001, Information Security Management System, and ITIL. Project planning is a discipline for positioning how to complete a project within a certain time frame, usually with defined stages and designated resources. Project planning divides the activities into 4 areas. The first area is to establish objectives. Specifically, these objectives shall be SMART, specific, measurable, achievable, reasonable, and time-based. The second area is to identify relevant deliverables. The relevant deliverables can be tangible or intangible in nature. For example, deliverables can be tangible, such as the purchase of 100 new computers. Deliverables can be intangible, such as the implementation of a system to improve efficiency. The third area is to plan a realistic schedule. We identify the activities necessary to complete the project, estimate the effort and duration on each activity, and link the activities through their interdependency. Finally, the fourth area is to make supporting plans. Supporting plans can be project management plan, human resources plan, risk management plan, communication plan, quality plan, and procurement plan. Project management plan is a document including but not limited to scope, schedule, cost, quality, communication, risk, procurement, and human resources plans. It also has a process improvement plan that is aimed to continuously improve throughout the project. It has a staffing plan with resource availability and their responsibilities. When it comes to resources, we look at their availability and capability. Next, it has a milestone list, which is closely linked to schedule baseline. Schedule is not a plan. It has a critical path. The critical path consists of the longest sequence of activities from the project start to finished that must be completed to ensure the project is finished by a certain time frame. The activities on the critical path must be very closely managed and monitored. The project management plan includes cost and quality baseline. Any deviation from the baselines will require a formal change request. Finally, the project management plan includes a risk register. The risk register is a tool to identify risk in a project so that the project can stay on top of potential issues that can derail intended outcomes. Ideally, we allocate sufficient time for project planning. However, there are many reasons to why insufficient planning can happen. Sponsors may not want to designate time to project planning. They may not want to invest the money to understand the problem and necessary work required during the project planning. Rather, they will ask to jump into project execution, hoping for faster delivery. The insufficient planning can lead to underestimation of work, which could lead to uncontrolled project scope creep later in the project. The scope creep is often the result of poor planning and communication. Another negative impact from insufficient planning is the overestimation of staff availability and potential issue of forgetting critical activities, impacting quality. In summary, there could be high level of stress throughout the remaining of the project due to the risk of not meeting schedule and overall expectation. As a result, it is very important to enable sufficient project planning. Human resources planning is the process of identifying current and future human resources requirements. We first identify people roles and responsibilities that are necessary to complete the project. Based on these roles, we create an organizational chart to illustrate reporting relationship. We group the teams into their categories. Next, we assign resources based on their availability and capability so that each box in the organizational chart has a role and name. On a regular basis, we assess the project team performance. We request for change through corrective and preventive actions to ensure the human resources plan is updated and will provide the best resourcing possible to the project. Let's take a look at the template, an example for roles and responsibility, and organizational chart. Here is a table showing the project roles and responsibilities. At the top, we have the senior authority, who is typically the CEO and/or VP. The senior authority provides the project budget and ensures the project aligns with the company's strategy and objectives. The next level is the project sponsor or champion. The project sponsor or champion typically is the director or senior manager. The project sponsor or champion overviews project, appoints project manager, approves project plan and budget, establishes working relationship with senior management team, reviews project manager performance, accepts deliverables, and provides final acceptance. In a project team, we have a project manager who assembles project team, communicates with stakeholders, leads project planning, accomplishes project within objectives, monitors and reports project status, and provides work package leader performance reviews to their functional managers. The project manager has to ensure project scalabilities, in which a project is scaled based on the size and complexity. The bigger the project size, the higher the project cost, and the longer the project timeline. Under the project manager, we have a number of work packages. Each work package has a leader and team. The work package leader understands the work requirements and expectation, plans work packages and activities with the project manager, assembles work package team, accomplishes work packages and activities within planned time, cost, and deliverables, and keeps their own functional manager informed. The project steering committee review and approve project charter, project management plan, and major scope changes. They have the authority to approve project assignment. They provide support to project manager and project team. They have the influence to business areas and stakeholders. They facilitate decentralized decision making and resolved inner project conflicts. The project manager has a dotted line reporting relationship to PMO, Project Management Office, which identify best practices, processes, tools to create and add value to the organization, shareholders, and clients. They provide support and assistance to project teams, including training and coaching. They actively participate in strategic projects and assist portfolio management. Here is the basic project organizational chart. At the top, we have the senior authority, who is typically the CEO and/or VP. The next level is the project sponsor or champion, who is usually director or senior manager. The next level is the project team. We start with the project manager in the project team. Under the project manager, we have a number of work packages. Each work package has a leader and team. Outside the project team, the project sponsor or champion has a dotted line relationship with the project steering committee. The project manager, on the other hand, has a dotted line reporting relationship to the Project Management Office, PMO. Risk management planning is the process of identifying, assessing, and mitigating risk. We first identify risk that could impact the success of the project. For each risk, we conduct qualitative risk analysis, which is the process of prioritizing risk by assessing and combining their probability of occurrence and impact. This is subjective. On the other hand, we quantify the risk through quantitative risk analysis, which is a numeric estimate of the overall effect of risk on the project objectives. The result provides an understanding of the likelihood of project success and is used to develop contingency reserves. For example, we can analyze the effect of risk in terms of cost overruns, schedule delays, and resource consumption. The quantitative risk analysis is more objective than the qualitative risk analysis. Next, we identify a risk response planning. As such, we have a response to each risk. The response could be avoid, mitigate, transfer, accept, share, contingency, enhance, or explore. Throughout the project, we monitor and control risk. For example, we could request changes and recommend actions as a result of the risk response. Last but not least, we shall always update the project management plan to align with the changes and actions. Let's take a look at some examples on risk. Here we group the potential project risk into scope, technical, and schedule. We often identify a new requirement after initial assessment. For example, the new requirement could be network upgrade to satisfy the number of new data lines in the meeting rooms. We should document the new request in the requirements traceability matrix and classify it to either functional or non-functional. This will help the sponsors to determine if the request is relevant and make the appropriate decision. For technical risk, network bandwidth may not be strong enough, affecting mobile devices to connect to company Wi-Fi. To address this risk, we should identify the number of users per floor and make the Wi-Fi survey before and after the system changes. This will help us to determine the number of Wi-Fi boosters necessary to meet the solution quality. In my recent project, we estimated a Wi-Fi booster is needed for every 50 user count. Assuming we have 180 people on the floor, we need at least 4 Wi-Fi boosters to extend the network bandwidth. For schedule risk, we shall always avoid deployment during the blackout periods, like accounting month end, quarter end, and annual closing for a finance group. We shall always avoid deployment during the Christmas and New Year holidays, especially in an airline company. Working closely with other project managers and operational managers, it is critical to understand the project priority and business workload to ensure appropriate resources are available. Last but not least, procurement plays an important role. We usually account for 2 months for ordering and shipping the hardware, and we shall always have several preferred vendors to tap into their inventory. Here is a few more potential project risks grouped into resource, usability, and quality. Lack of resources and insufficient funding are the most common risks. We should always assess business workload to ensure the key resources are available. In some cases, we can set aside a budget contingency. If so, we should include 20% budget contingency during the planning phase. As we move into the project execution phase, we can consider to reduce the budget contingency to 10% or even lower because the uncertainty is reduced as we move closer to deployment. For usability risk, we should assess business ability to adopt the changes and adjust the OCM to ensure we do not have a steep learning curve. We monitor the KPI to determine the good timing to reinforce the changes if needed. Last but not least, we should always prepare comprehensive test cases with positive and negative conditions, and we should include instructor-led classroom training, hands-on training, also known as UAT, video training, e-learning, and service desk assistant. We often plan to run a project like the picture above. However, something happens along our journey. The complications and roadblocks could impact our journey. They could delay or even prevent us from moving forward. Let's reframe the situation. If this is a video game, the picture above is really boring. When we play video game, we like challenges because they are a key motivation. If our project is really running as planned, we will not experience the risk and recognitions, and we will not receive the feelings of satisfaction when we reached our target. In fact, the bottom picture is the real life. The key is how we make aware of the challenges and roadblocks in advance so that we can better prepare for it. As part of the risk management, we identify risk responses so that we can better prepare for the challenges and roadblocks in advance. We have 8 types of risk responses. Number 1, we can change our plan to avoid the risk. For example, a company temporarily closed a construction site in a bad weather to avoid the risk that someone may get hurt. Number 2, we can take action to mitigate risk. For example, we can develop work procedures to reduce workplace safety risk. Number 3, we can transfer risk to a third party. For example, we can buy auto insurance just in case an automobile accident occurs. Number 4, we can design to accept the risk. Risk has a relationship with reward. Reducing risk can also reduce the potential payback. Number 5, we can distribute risk across multiple partners and teams. For example, we can share 2 resources across 4 projects so that the 2 resources provide services to the 4 projects. If one of them decided to leave the company, the other resource can continue without the loss of continuity, and buy time to identify a new resource. Yet, this could add a new risk like context switching time or multitasking. Number 6, we can make a contingency plan to handle risk if it occurs. For example, we can prepare a backup procedure to restore system if a launch fails. There are positive risk responses. As such, we would maximize the occurrence of this positive risk. Number 7, we can enhance a risk if the project finishes early and under budget. Number 8, we can exploit a positive risk so that we can make use of the resources that become available if a project finishes early and resources become available. Here is a table showing a risk register legend for the risk classification. It relates the probability and impact using subjective estimate. The high risk priority is red, medium risk caution is yellow, and low risk watch is green. Here is a risk register showing examples of risk, type, impact details, probability, impact, portable impact, risk classification, response type, and action. The risk classifications that are red priority and yellow caution shall be closely monitored and controlled throughout the project. They shall be communicated in the regular project status report. The risk classifications that are green shall be watched. Here is a risk register showing examples of quantitative risk analysis. It has risk, type, probability, cost impact, expected value, response type, and action. Keep in mind that risk include both threat and opportunities. Threat have negative impact on cost. Opportunities are benefit that reduce cost. Expected value is equal to the probability times the impact. The total expected value represents the project risk exposure and the amount of our contingency reserve. Communications plan is a roadmap for getting the project messages delivered to the key stakeholders. It is an essential tool for ensuring the project sends clear, specific messages with measurable result. We first identify internal and external key stakeholders. Next, we analyze the key stakeholders in terms of their requirements and expectation. Then we determine the best method to share the relevant information. For example, we identify who needs to know what, when, and how. In some cases, we organize a focus group to determine the best communication method for the stakeholders so that the communications can be done selectively and efficiently. Some examples include face-to-face meeting, video conferencing, email, and phone call. Finally, we provide performance reporting. This can be done through a survey. For example, SurveyMonkey is a free online tool that can be set up to collect and report performance on communications. Here is a stakeholder analysis example. In the table, we have the stakeholder name, their position, and their status, including internal or external to the company. We also assign roles and responsibilities to the stakeholders. The stakeholder position and role are different in that position always stays with the stakeholders, whereas the role is assigned to the stakeholder during the project cycles only. We also capture their interest in terms of project objectives like schedule, budget, quality, and procurement. The analysis should give us an indication if they will be impacted positively, negatively, or staying neutral, along with the degree of their influence to the project. Finally, we have a preferred communication method like face-to-face meeting, video conferencing, and email. Among this information, the most important analysis result are the stakeholder impact and influence. In summary, we focus on stakeholders with a high degrees of influence. We leverage the stakeholders with positive influence to our advantage. We neutralize the stakeholders with negative influence. We always keep our friends close and our enemies closer. In most cases, the stakeholders with objections are not getting what they want or what they need. We can put their requirements into the wish list so that we can get an alignment in the future phase or separate projects. We group stakeholders according to the impact and influence analysis. For example, those stakeholders who have high influence and high impact to the project, we manage them closely. For those stakeholders who have high influence and low impact, we keep them satisfied. For those stakeholders who have high impact and low influence, we keep them informed. For those stakeholders who have low impact and low influence, we monitor them. Here is an example of impact and influence analysis for a project with internal and external stakeholders. The project steering committee and executives have high influence and high impact to the project. Therefore, we manage them closely. On the other hand, the union employees and other initiatives have low influence and low impact to the project. Therefore, we monitor them. The managers of union employees have low influence and high impact to the project. Therefore, we keep them informed. In the picture, the size of the bubbles indicate the number of stakeholders in the group. This will help to determine the preferred method of communication. For a small group of stakeholders who have high influence and high impact, we shall use face-to-face meeting, video conferencing, and any other active two-way communications. For a large group of stakeholders who have low influence and low impact, we can use email and other passive communications. Quality planning creates quality management plan, determines quality metrics, identifies quality checklist and baseline, and updates to process improvement plan. A quality management plan is a document that specifies quality standards, practices, resources, specifications, and the sequence of activities relevant to a particular product, service, project, or contract. Quality metrics are the measurements used to ensure customers receive acceptable product or deliverables. They are used to directly translate customer requirements into acceptable performance measures. A quality checklist is used to assist the project team to ensure they consider all aspects of a project and/or process quality. A quality baseline is the process of checking compliancy of specific project result to quality standard. The quality planning can result in an update to the process improvement plan. Through project quality planning, we may have the ability to eliminate bottlenecks in business operations, reduce workflow time, improve process efficiency and quality, eliminate wasted effort, minimize friction in business processes, and meet regulatory compliancy. Here is a typical procurement process. We have 6 process groups, including planned purchases and acquisitions, planned contracting, request sellers' responses, select sellers, contract administration, and contract closure. Some of the key deliverables and objectives include procurement plan, bidders list, requisition initiation, RFP, RFQ, proposal and quotation, bid analysis, negotiation, contract execution, contract administration, and contract closeout. Thank you very much for your time. Please contact me for additional project management templates and samples. Here's my contact information.